Thinking of hiring a maid in Singapore but not sure how? Don't worry, because in this video, I'll walk you through everything you need to know, from the eligibility requirements to the cost involved, as well as how to find a suitable mate. Also, I will also share tips on choosing the right helper and the responsibilities you need to know as an employer. By the end of this video, you'll have a clear understanding of the whole process so that you can avoid common mistakes and hire with confidence. But before I start, do join my 10,000 Telegram members chat group where you can ask questions and discuss with others going through the same journey. First things first, not everyone in Singapore can just say, "Mate, I choose you," and get one like a starter Pokemon. That's because before you can even hire a mate, you need to first meet some basic eligibility criteria. First, you must be at least 21 years old, not be a bankrupt, have the mental capacity to understand and perform your responsibility as an employer, and of course, have enough money to hire a maid lah. But how much does it actually cost to hire a maid? Let's start with the salary. Here's a table by dollar barrel. What you will notice is that there's no fixed salary, as it will depend a lot on experience and nationality. For example, Myanmar and Sri Lankan maid salaries tend to be on the lower end, followed by Indonesian maids, while Philippine maids tend to cost the most. Why like that? The reason is quite straightforward. Filipino helpers generally have strong English skills, which makes day-to-day communication in Singapore households much smoother. Because of this, many families feel more confident and trusting them with tasks like childcare or caring for elderly parents. On top of that, their diet and lifestyle usually blend well with Singaporean culture, making it easier for them to settle in. Therefore, it's no surprise that Filipinas make up nearly 1/3 of all foreign domestic workers in Singapore. Meanwhile, Indonesian helpers typically earn a little less compared to their Filipino counterparts. While their English proficiency may not be as strong, communication is often smoother in Malay-speaking households, since Bahasa Indonesia is very similar to Malay. Culturally and religiously, they also integrate well with Malay Muslim families, especially when it comes to food preparation, dietary practices, and daily routines, making the transition easier for both sides. When it comes to Myanmar helpers, their salaries are generally lower, as their limited English proficiency can sometimes cause communication challenges. However, many employers still choose them due to cultural compatibility. With nearly 80% of Myanmar's population being Buddhist, their values and practices often align with Singapore's Buddhist community, helping them settle more easily into local households. Finally, Sri Lankan helpers usually fall somewhere in the middle in terms of both salary and adaptability. Their English proficiency is generally better than Myanmar helpers, though not as strong as Filipino helpers. And because Sri Lanka is a multicultural society with a mix of Buddhists, Hindus, Muslims, and Christians, Sri Lankan helpers tend to be adaptable to different family practices and traditions. Quick pause. If you're looking for the best brokers to kickstart your investing journey, check out Interactive Brokers. You will enjoy one of the lowest fees in the industry, at just 35 cents per trade on the US stock market. It also offers Ireland domiciled ETFs, perfect for saving on dividend withholding taxes. Plus, it also comes with free company research tools, so you can make smarter investing decisions. Feel free to use my Interactive Brokers link to open an account and start investing today. Alright, let's get back to the video. Next, besides salary, you need to pay MOM, a monthly foreign domestic worker levy. This is basically a monthly tax for hiring a helper. The standard levy is $300 per month, but if you qualify for the levy concession scheme, it drops to just $60 per month. That's a huge difference, and the concession applies if you have young children, elderly parents, or someone with disabilities in your household. Besides salary and levy, there's also the maid insurance. By MOM's rules, the plan must cover at least 60k for personal accidents and 60k for medical expenses, plus include a $5,000 security bond, unless your helper is a Malaysian. This $5,000 bond is basically a guarantee that you give to MOM that you fulfill your obligations as an employer, like paying salary on time, providing medical care, and sending her home when her contract ends. If you or your maid break MOM's rules, part or all of the bond can be forfeited. But don't worry, you don't actually have to pay 5k in cash upfront. The insurance company usually provides the bond guarantee to MOM on your behalf. To make things easier, you can use comparison sites like SingSaver to compare different maid insurance plans, and sometimes even earn rewards when you sign up. Alternatively, you can purchase directly from insurers. Premiums typically cost $300 to $500 per year, depending on coverage. On top of this, there are other costs to consider. If you go through an agency, you can expect to pay agency fees of around 1k to 3k, depending on services. It may sound costly, but the agency will usually handle everything for you, such as paperwork, work permit application, contracts, medical checks, and logistics to bring the helper from her home country. Otherwise, if you wish to save on agency fees, you can hire directly, but then you will need to handle all the admin work yourself, including registering your helper for something called the Settling In program. The Settling In program is basically a one-day course to help them adjust to living and working in Singapore. It is mandatory for all first-time helpers in Singapore, and the fee is around $76. But wait, that's not all. The helpers will also have to undergo a pre-employment medical checkup before starting work. This will usually cost around $50, and thereafter, a monthly medical checkup every 6 months, which usually costs around $35. Most maid agencies also have something called a placement fee, which is essentially a down payment that you have to pay upfront, then later deduct from your maid's salary over a few months. Last but not least, since the helper is staying with you, you will have to provide for food, toiletries, and daily essentials. So when you add up everything, you could expect to pay around $9,000 to $11,000 in one-time fee, and subsequently $10,000 to $13,000 in recurring fees every year, which sounds like a lot of money, yeah? But thankfully, there are government grants and subsidies that can offset some of these costs. Besides the levy concession, if your family needs a helper to take care of an elderly parent or someone with disabilities, you may qualify for the Home Caregiving Grant, which will provide you with up to $400 cash per month in 2025, then $600 in April 2026 onwards. Then there's the Caregiver Training Grant, which gives families $400 per year to attend approved training courses. These courses teach both employers and helpers how to better care for seniors or people with special needs, covering areas like dementia care, mobility assistance, or tube feeding. Additionally, if you are a working mom, you can claim the Foreign Domestic Worker Levy Tax Relief, which allows you to deduct twice the amount of levy paid from your taxable income. This is only for the first foreign domestic worker hired, and you will need to manually claim the relief, yeah? Next, let's talk about how to find the right helper for your household. If you are finding through an employment agency, your first step is to choose the right employment agency. There are hundreds of maid agencies in Singapore, but not all are the same. A good agency doesn't just hand you a stack of biodata and push you to make a quick decision. They take time to understand your family's needs, recommend suitable candidates, and guide you through the paperwork. On the other hand, a poor agency might focus only on speed, which can lead to mismatches and early terminations. The good news is that MOM has an employment agencies directory that lists every licensed agency in Singapore. You can check their track record, customer ratings, retention rates, and even transfer rates. So what you could do is filter for agencies with high retention rates, meaning maids stay longer with their employers, strong customer reviews, no demerit points, and low transfer rates, which suggests fewer mismatches between employers and helpers. Once you have shortlisted a few agencies, you can take it one step further by checking Google reviews, Facebook feedback, or even word-of-mouth recommendations from friends and families. That way, you'll get a clearer sense of how professional and supportive the agency is, especially if issues arise after the hiring. Next, if you are going through an agency, they will typically give you a list of profiles, which include details like the helper's age, nationality, family background, past employment history, and sometimes even notes on their skills or personality. While this information is helpful, you shouldn't rely on the biodata alone. Instead, you need to also conduct an interview, either in person or over a video call. Rather than asking yes or no questions and getting just yes sir, can answers, it's better to ask open-ended questions that reveal their skills, motivation, and working habits. For example, you can ask, can you walk me through a typical day in your last job? What were your responsibilities from morning to evening? What type of work do you enjoy the most and why? When you face a task you are not sure how to do, what do you usually do? Tell me about the time your employer corrected you. How do you handle it? And what do you learn? These types of questions will show you how she thinks and reacts in real-life situations. Beyond the interview, you may also want to look out for personal qualities that make a huge difference in day-to-day life. These types of questions will show you whether your helper is proactive, willing to learn, and adaptable. Beyond the interview, you should look out for personal qualities that make a big difference in day-to-day life. Things like attention to detail, independence, and a good attitude towards learning. Last but not least, here are the things to take note of when hiring a helper. If you are going through an agency, they'll usually guide you through these steps, but it's still good to know what they are so you don't miss anything. First, if this is your first time hiring a maid, you will need to go through something called the Employers Orientation Program. This is a short 2-hour course that costs $35 if you take it online, and it helps you understand your responsibilities as an employer. Don't worry, Most of it is just common sense, like don't starve your maid lah, don't abuse your maid lah, remember to pay your maid lah, things like that. And even though this sounds like what a normal human being should do, somehow there are still people who mistreat their maids. Hiya! Second, once your helper starts working, you must pay her salary on time every month. You can pay via bank transfer, or if she prefers, pay via cash. Pro tip, you could use platforms like CardUp and iPayMy to pay her salary via credit card to earn some rewards. Though, there will be a fee involved, so you have to decide whether it is worth it or not. By law, your helper is entitled to 1 rest day per week. Though, if she agrees to work on her rest day, you will need to compensate her with at least 1 day's salary. However, you must ensure that your helper have at least 1 rest day per month. And last but not least, your helper can only work for you at your residential address. This means you can't just send her to clean your parents' flats, your siblings' condo, or your friend's shop. Under MOM's rules, that's considered illegal deployment. And if you get caught, you could get fined, lose your $5,000 security bond, and even be banned from hiring a maid in the future. Anyway, that was a quick tutorial on how to hire a maid in Singapore. Hope you found it useful. Like, share and subscribe as I'll be posting new videos every week.